So in this tutorial, I would like to do something practical, more practicalized stuff concerning this GitHub. Okay, and I want to. This is like the let me not say the standard way, but more like the most approach people take when using GitHub and Git. Okay, especially when using it with your terminal. All right. So since we are working more with our terminal, which means we won't do this first initial approach of creating all these our files in here. Rather, we'll do all those stuff inside our terminal. Okay, so I want to show you how to go about that, starting all your work from your terminal and then pushing it to your GitHub site. So we won't need this repository again. So let me just quickly delete this. I purposely chose to start the video from this place by at least showing you how the deleting works. So delete, then ask me to write exactly what is written there to confirm that. Alright, so I'll click on this. You can see your repository has been successfully deleted. Alright, so I'll click my new. So because we'll still need a new repository. Alright, so let me go back to my terminal. Let me delete this other repository that I cloned here. So I also need to delete this. I'll say rm-rf. Now the reason of adding this f is to forcefully delete it, because if you just write rm-r, it won't delete it, to bring some kind of annoying errors of questions like that. So always add the f to force the delete, because this is not just a normal directory you're deleting, this is a git directory. So use it in this format. So ls is already out, very good. So we can start afresh. So the first thing to do now is for us to first create the repository on our GitHub. Okay, so let me create a repository named my church project. So that's my name, that's the name of the repository. Now I chose not to put anything in my description. I will leave it as public. Well, it doesn't really matter. Let me just, well, it's optional. If you want to put something, if condition tell you that you should put an option, a description, then put the description. Right, so I just choose not to put any description for this project. I want to leave everything empty and ensure you select public. Alright, unless you want to make it private for yourself alone. And this time I choose not to add a readme file. I will do that in my terminal. So click create repository. So this is an empty repository. That's why we are not seeing anything here, but it has been created already. So what we just need to do, the first very step we need to do is to clone the repository. Okay, so since it's the first major repository, so I'll clone this, which I've copied it already. I've copied the HTTPS link, that's the remote link. So I'll say git clone. I think, let me confirm, I should be, this is my home directory. Yeah, so I'll say git clone paste. So it has cloned it and it's telling me that it is an empty repository. So let me go to that repository as my church project. Okay, so I will do git init, that's git initialization. Okay, that's the next step to do. So you initialize the GitHub repository. The next step to do is to then create your project or do your tasks, do what you want to do. All right, so since this is the parent project, so I would like to add a readme file. So let me use the echo command to create a readme file, a non-empty readme. That means it should have a content in it. So let me just put the content as my church projects. My church projects. Okay, readme.md. Let me check it. Good. Let me cut and see what is inside. Very good. Okay, so So this is the first file I created the readme from my terminal, no longer directly from the GitHub site. Okay, so when the repository I have a readme file, I would like to just create another. I would like to create another directory. I would like to create a directory inside my parents repo directory. Okay, so then just name this one kind of like a mini project. Okay, a sub project. So I name this one ministry tax. So that's the name of this sub project that's inside my repo. So let me check it out. So I will cd ministry tax. Alright, so I would like to also, you can see it is empty. So I would like to also create a readme file to explain what's the ministry, the ministry rather, what the ministry tax projects is about. So I'll write my echo evangelize, it's like evangelization. So evangelization of the word. Okay, that's the word of God. So greater than readme.md. So let me check. So cat readme. So good, that's what I expect to be there. I would like to create another normal file. So let me just create a normal file. This normal file can be anything, okay, depending on what you just want to work on. So just like the previous example that we created, index.html. Okay, but I'm using echo command. So you know echo, you can't use echo to create long text content. So you have to use Emacs or VI. Okay, so since I'm just using echo, I'll just be doing some mini write-up content. Okay, so I just want to create another text file, and this one I'll just write give your life to Christ. Okay, and I'll name this file repent. Okay, good. So I'm just creating a random file. Let me confirm what is inside, if it's really what okay, good. You can also create other multiple sub projects inside this ministry tags. Okay, on and on like that. Just can do your index.html, index.html, or whatever you want to do, or if it's C programming, .c, if it's CSS. All right, so let me just create more like style.css and main.js. So these are different files. So you can now open each of them, maybe using your Emacs. So just say Emacs index.html, enter to take it to your Emacs text editor, or you can use your vi index.html, take it to your vi editor, on and on like that. Okay, so let's assume you've worked on your project, you are done, and you want to push. So you want to push it to the GitHub site. Remember, the GitHub site is still empty. I'll say cd dot dot. So once you are done with all your tasks and you want to then push, all right, so I'll go back to my repository directory, which is my church project, which is where I'm in now. All right, so I will say git status. This git status is just for you to check the untracked files. All right, so we have in our repository, we have two things. We have the readme.md and we have the ministry tags. Okay, so both of them are yet to be tracked, so they are currently untracked files. That's why it is showing red colors. So we have to make them track files. All right. I would like to let me just create. No, okay, let me just leave it this way. Let me leave this. Okay, so for us to make it tracked, then we're going to say git add. So you say git add, then the name of the file you want to track. So I'll say readme.md, enter. Now if I do git status again, just to see the status, see if it really worked, you can see this readme.md has set itself from on track files position. So it is now tracked. and waiting to be committed. Okay, so let's assume you have multiple files that are yet to be tracked. It will be a pain to be doing it one by one, git add and the name of the file. Like they can be very, very much. Okay, just for example, now if I'm to go to my ministry tax here now and I do the git status, we created many files here. Okay, so there are actually many files in this place that are yet to be committed. So let me just go to your repo directory, and that fast way of doing the git add is just for you to just type git add space dots. What this dots will do, it will automatically add everything, okay, to make everything trackable. So if I say git status now, you can see everything has been tracked here. So everything that is even inside the ministry tax is also tracked inside. All right, so that is just the advantage of the git add period, okay, than doing it one by one. Git add readme, git add ministry tax, readme, git add ministry tax index. That is like stress. So for you to just make everything trackable at once, just use this command git add and put your period after it, okay, space period, so to automatically make everything tracked. So the next step to do is for us to commit. So watch this trend. Before you can push your GitHub file, you have to make sure you do git add, then you have to make sure you've done git commit. Very, very important. Okay, so the git status is not really important. It's just for you to check if there are files that are yet to be tracked or not tracked. Okay, so but the major thing you need to do, you must ensure you do git add and you do your git commit. Okay, so now let's do our git commit. Since everything is tracked and now it said changes to be committed, so they are ready to be committed. All right, so that would be git commit. Put this option of -m, then you will put a description. So the description was just about talking about the changes you made in your file that you want to commit. Okay, so I can just say I added new directory called ministry tax. So you can just put a description, all right, of your choice, then click enter. So it has commit everything, each of them. Consider plus sign. So it has commit readme.nd, this, that. So everything is committed, all right. So that means my work is ready to be pushed. But now, if I just type git push, it won't work because I've not yet linked it to my GitHub site of where it wants to push. Let me just type it so you see the error message. Because I don't like just teaching about perfect tutorial. I want you to understand how to handle errors whenever you encounter errors. Let me purposely make an error. I want to click on git push just for test purpose. It asks me for my username and it asks me for my username, then it asks for password. So don't forget the password we are going to use is actually the path token. Okay, so try the path token we will need to use. Okay, let me just say, let me type the Lexis code, then the password. Let me paste my own path token. So I've actually pasted my password now. I think you're already familiar that it won't really show you the long text of your password in the terminal. It's just a security feature. So I'll click enter. So it's actually pushed my files. Wow, that's actually pushed my file. Earlier what I was actually expecting to see happen is that there is this feature that is needed at some point in time whereby you do git remote add origin. So I think what's made it much easier for us here is that since we use the git clone directly like this, so since getting this HTTPS has already linked everything to my terminal here. So since the stuff has been pushed, so if I reload this page, we should see the changes made. You can see this is the change, these are all the changes made. Okay, so we have the readme, we have the ministry tags. If I enter inside the ministry tag, I can see the other tags we created. Okay, why this is the commit message that we used. All right, so that is how this is the other readme evangelization of the word that we created inside the ministry tags. Okay, so going back to the my school, my church projects. So these are all about that. So that's how to push your work. All right, I'm thinking about something. I'm thinking about doing something that will require me to connect my username and email. So this one look too sweet. So let's try something. Let's quickly do a quick repo and try something now. Okay, I will try to do this one in a much faster pace. Because I want you to understand something so that when you want to see some kind of errors or see some stuff, you know how to solve it easily. Let me see the dots. Let me clear the whole stuff. Okay. We have now. I want to create a directory now, as in I want to create another project entirely now, not this my church project, just something else. So let me just say my projects. Okay, then I'm showing you now another way of doing the same thing that we just did. This is just like another way. Okay, so my projects, so I have to go to my GitHub also and create the same stuff. So my projects, I'll leave everything the way they are like this, and I'll just click on create repository. Okay, so now I don't want to git clone on purpose. Now I don't want to git clone. I want to do it in a way that it should connect with my GitHub once I push, whereby I will need to connect my local machine to the GitHub site using my username, my email, okay, and also connecting the remotes also. So I'll just say, okay, I've created the file here. So first, always I will do the git init to make the file a GitHub file, a git related file. Okay, so I've initialized the file, so it's now a git repository on its own now, a separate repository on its own. Okay, so what I want to do, let me just quickly create a simple stuff. So let me just create a readme file. So some contents are inside it. So readme.md ls to confirm it. Okay, so let's just assume this is my project and there are also other projects inside it. Let me just quickly create some random projects inside it. Let me just create some files though. Index dot let me create another directory. So dir sub projects, something like that. Okay, so let me enter the sub projects. So I want to create some random files like index html style.css. Let me just stop there because of time. I don't want this lecture to be too lengthy. Okay, let me create another readme for this. It's always good to create readme for every directory. Okay, so I'm just create readme. I'll just write some content. I'm just doing it for tutorial purpose. I should write a real explanation of what this directory is talking about. Okay, that's doing it in a real way. Okay, so just for tutorial purpose, I'll just write it this way. So let me go back to my repo, which is my project. Okay, good. So I'm going to do git add, but before we do this, let me just show you that indeed we have contract files. Okay, so which means we must do git add. So I'm going to do git add period just for it to track everything at once. I don't want to do this then one by one. So I've done the git add period. So let me just confirm it if it's really as expected. Good. So they're all showing green, which means they've been added. So the next thing for me is to do git commit. So git commit. Now I can put a message about the commit. So my second git project. That's just a description I just chose to write. Okay, git commit -m, then put the description in your quotes. All right, so that's a git description. Now remember, you have to do git add, you have to do git commit, then you will push. Now if I do git push, it won't work directly. You can see this was what I'm trying to add to that first time. Okay, so the reason we didn't get to see this that first time because we started that first project by cloning, so it made it look very easy. Okay, so it made it look easier to do that way. But in a case whereby you don't choose to want to clone first, you just want to do your project and push. Okay, that is how you want to do your own approach. Then what you then need to do, you have to follow these steps. And whenever you are seeing error messages, it's also good to read it. Okay, so looking at it, this first step it asks you to do here is that you have to do git remote add name URL. So what it actually means is that we have to connect where are we pushing to, where do we want to push it to. So I'm going to say git remote add. Now the name is talking about is actually the destination name, the branch name. Okay, I'm going to our GitHub here. This is the empty directory. I think we are in our main branch. Yeah, we are in our main branch. I even see the stuff here. Okay, so git remote add origin. Then you put the link, which is the URL. You can see URL. Okay, so I'm going to write origin space that URL, replace it with the actual URL, which is this HTTPS. So I'll paste that here. Okay, so you can see how we're following that order. So git remote add origin, and it's asking me what is the origin. The origin is our main, and this is a link to our main here, which is this URL link. Okay, so I'll click enter. Then let's try again. Git push. Now you can see it brings another kind of like fatal error message. Now what this next error message is trying to let you know that okay, you want to push, but you have not really specified on the direction you are pushing it to. Well, fine, you've already created the remote add origin. The node the Git knows the remote now. So there's a way you have to set it to make it like connect to the branch it is in. Okay, because there might be many branch in your repo directory in your GitHub, so you have to be specific. So I'm going to write git, so it's telling you to put this stuff in your command, so just type it the way it is: push set upstream. Now this set upstream is actually a long text. There's a short way of writing it. You can just say push git push -u. So that -u means set upstream also. Okay, so origin master, that's like the master branch. Remember I talked about master branch and main branch. So if you just try the master branch, even if it doesn't work, try it with the main branch. One of them will work. Okay, so enter. So it will ask you next, it will ask for your username. I'll put in my username, and mind you, next time you won't, once you do this -u, that means anytime you are pushing, you won't need to do -u origin master anymore. You'll just be putting your git push and to be going that way. Okay, so username, password. Okay, password, I have to use my paths. Okay, the personal access token, that's what you're going to put there. So let me copy my paths. So I've copied it and I'll click enter. Okay, so it has actually pushed. So let me refresh this page to be sure that it has pushed. You can see everything is inside here. All right, so I would like to do something again. Let me assume I want to make some more changes inside my file, inside my projects. Okay, let me just say I go to my subdirectory, my subprojects. What's inside here again? Okay, let's assume I choose to add another file called main.js. Okay, so we have main.js here. So if I say git status. Since I've made a change, which means there will surely be an on track file, which is the main.js, right? So I can push this one this time around. All right, so I can still push. I don't need to go back to my repo path for me to push it, since the changes I made is just within this particular directory here. So I can do my git push only in this directory here, okay, without needing to going back again to my project repo directory. So I will do the git add as usual to make this main.js a track file. So if you say git status again, you will see that it's actually a track file now. So it is in a green color. Okay, so the next thing is to do your git commit dash and then put your description. So I will just say added main.js file. Just a description to explain what happened, what made you commit again. Okay, so it has been done. So now what next we can do? We can push it. Okay, let's just remember that we don't have any stuff in our sub project. We don't have main.js here. It is obvious, right? So let's see how it's going to update itself now. So since we've done git add, git commit, the next thing to do is to git push. And remember I said since you've done that .to origin master once, you don't need to do it again. So just type only the git push and click enter. Then put in your username, then put in your paths, personal access token, enter. That's pushed. So let me check. I'll refresh this page to see if the changes as reflected. You can see we have main.js here now. You can see how the changes has actually affected, and the commits affected only specifically on the changes parts also. Okay, so that is just how to make updates to your changes. And mind you, don't, whenever you come here, like if you're working on a project, don't make your changes directly on this site. You make your changes directly on this site, it will affect the one in your terminal, because you already made a change here and it will be different from the one that is inside your terminal here. Okay, so don't do that. Always make your changes from within your sandbox or your terminal, your Ubuntu, okay, or your Git bash. Okay, make those changes here. Don't go to this site to make it. Don't go to the GitHub site itself to make a change. If you make a change, it will cause something called conflicts. So that conflict means the site, the GitHub site here is already ahead of your local Git commands. Okay, let me just make sure. Probably let's just try it and see what is going to happen. Okay, let us try it just so we can see what's going to happen. So let me do something. Let me change. Let me just add something here. So some content. That is enough to even cause a conflict. So I'll click on commits. So I've changed something directly from this site. Okay, from the GitHub site. So that means this GitHub site is now ahead of my terminal. So now let's see what's going to happen now if I try to git push something. So let me go cd dot dot, let me go back up. Let me just create something basic, a normal file. Let me say this is a text file. Okay, so now I want to git push this. So I'll first do git add as usual, then git commit, then put a description. I added text file. Okay, the next thing is git push, right? Then I put my username, then I put my path token. Now I just want you to see what it's going to show. I'm trying to make you understand something. You can see what it showed now. That brings this whole error message. So what it said here is that failed to push some ref to this. So updates were rejected because the remote contains work that you do not have locally. Remember, we made changes directly from our GitHub site. So it has already affected it. So we can't just drag it inside this our site like that. It won't work. Okay, so that's what it's trying to tell us. Okay, so that is why I advise not to go to your GitHub to do one kind in case you feel lazy of coming to your terminal to then want to make a changes to your GitHub. Don't be lazy like that. Do stuff locally first, then push it. Okay. So to solve an issue like this, okay. So to solve an issue like this, we can then choose to fetch. Let's do git pull. Usually, I personally like doing git fetch first. Then I will now write git pull. Okay. I think there's a difference concerning this git fetch and git pull. Git fetch is just like save it to check what is inside the GitHub if indeed there are some changes there. Okay. Then to notify you. Then if there are some changes, they cannot do the git pull, something like that. Okay. So git fetch. Okay, the git fetch actually worked well. So it's still advisable. Let me just do the git pull, which is the standard way of pulling everything. So let me exit this. So I'll click Ctrl X. Yes. Okay, good. So that's the git pull. Okay, so I just exit that nano by clicking Ctrl X. Then I type yes and enter. Okay, so we've done the git fetch, then we did git pull. So always read some of all these error messages to solve those kind of issues. Okay, so you can say it showed rejected, then suggested that you did a fetch first, which is git fetch. Okay, then looking at what the error message wrote here is that updates were rejected because the remote contains work that you did not have locally. This is usually caused by another repository pushing to the same reference. You may want to first integrate. Now, let me even explain one of the sentence being stated here, that this is usually caused by another repository pushing to the same reference. Like, for example, now if you are working with a team and you guys are working in a project, okay, and you have the same repo, so sometimes your friend might have pushed something to your GitHub, to the GitHub site of you guys group, of your group GitHub site. So once the person push its own updates and you don't have that update yet and you just want to push, that's when you get to see this kind of error. Okay, so what you need to do then is to do a git fetch. Okay, so after doing the git fetch, then you can come and do the git pull. All right, so let's see those changes we made. I think what did we change here? We changed these parts in our site. That's some contents. That was what we changed. So let's see if it really reflects here. So which is in our readme, right? So I'm going to say cat readme to see what is really inside. You can see some content. You can see how it's reflected. See the 3 columns, exclamation marks rather. So that is just how to go about that. All right, so I just choose to let you understand. So what we've learned in this tutorial now, we've learned how to git clone and push your work, and how to start normally without doing any git clone at all, and just do your git init and do your work, then push it, connecting it to your remote add origin. Okay, don't forget that stuff. The next thing we did now is that we talked about how to solve issues whereby your GitHub is ahead of your local machine. Okay, in case you made a change directly on your GitHub site, okay, which will cause merge conflicts. That's a conflict. There's a conflict that happened here. So that's what we call conflicts. So whereby one is ahead of the other. So you have to bring down that parent, so that one in the remote, the GitHub site, bring it down. Okay, using the git pull. So you have to like pull it down to this your Ubuntu or your Git bash for you to, for all the stuff to tally together. Then you can now do your normal. So now remember, we wanted to push our text file and it showed this error. So now let's push it to see if it will show the error again. I'm very sure it won't show the error this time around, since now we've already pulled down whatever is in our remote. So if I say git push, Next is code. Then I put my paths as my password. Can see it successfully pushed. It didn't bring that error anymore. So that's how to solve conflicts like this, which you call merge conflicts. Okay, so I think this video is very more detailed in a way. All right, just for you to understand how to solve some certain issues in your coding. And one more thing I would like to say is that anytime you are starting your repository, whenever you want to create your repository from the beginning in your terminal, first create the name of the repository. Okay, then when you do the git init, that's when you can then do your readme. Don't create the repository, then do the readme, then do the git init. Follow the order. Do the init first before you create your readme file. Don't you create your readme file first before you create the readme, or else to show you some errors. All right. Then for you to solve that kind of error, you have to then delete the repository and start afresh again. So to delete the repository, you have to use the rm-rf, then the name of the repository. All right. So that is it. Don't forget, for you to clone again, I'm trying to go back to this slide to sync in your brain. For you to clone from the start, the difference between the first one we did and the second one was that the first one we didn't need to create a project name first. The first one, this my church project, we didn't first create the name of the project. We just, from this place, from this our home directory, we just did the git clone straight up. Then it itself bring down this file from our GitHub. Why this next step that we did there with this my project, we first created the directory ourselves, okay, with our mkdir. Consider was what we did here. So we first created it for ourselves. Then that's how we go down to each of all these steps that we've run down to. So I hope you understand this very, very well. All right. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, like and subscribe, and share it with friends so they can get to understand this concept and knowledge. Very, very important. I think the next video will talk more about branches in GitHub. All right. In Git and GitHub rather. Have a lovely day. Bye.